Hi my creatives, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to look at this Ankara short with an elastic waistband, and we're going to add a string at the end. Hope you enjoy the video, and if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Let's get started. So start off by folding your fabric into two. For a short, we fold the fabric into two since we're going to work on the front panel at first. Then mark the length. My short length is going to be 20 inches, so I added 2 inches for hemming allowance, so that makes it 22 inches. So you mark your 22 inches. As you can see, remember the fabric is folded into two. Mark the waistline. And then mark your 20 inches so that you remain with the 2 inches at the bottom. That is the short length. Mine is 20 inches, as you can see. Now we're going to mark our vertical measurements. And we're going to start with the crotch. To get the crotch depth measurement, you get your hip measurement, divide by 4 minus 1 inch. So whatever you get, if it's 8 or 9, that's what you mark, or 10, depending. So mine was 9, I think it was 9.5 inches. So it's what I marked. And then I marked my hip depth measurement, which is you mark your waist from hip. To get that, you mark the waist from the waist to the hip measurement. That's where you mark. Mine was 8 inches, and that's what I marked. Then to mark your lap measurement or thigh measurement, thigh depth, you get just add 3 inches from your crotch measurement or your hip, depending on the size of the person. Where you see on the thigh where they are the widest is where you're going to mark. So for this one, I did 3 inches from the crotch measurement, from the crotch depth, and that's when I decided to mark to draw a line, a joining line for all, as seen. Though for the hip measurement, initially I had done 7.5, but then I changed it to 8 inches. As I told you, I marked 8 inches later. I'm making this short for a teenager, so that's why I had marked 7.5 inches. But then looking at the measurements I had taken of her body, I realized, okay, her body is quite similar to a grown-up's body, so 8 inches is enough, is okay for her. So that's why I changed from the 7.5 to the 8 inches of hip depth. Now we're going to mark our horizontal measurements. Now to mark the horizontal measurements, you get your hip measurement, which was 40.5, divide by 4. Whatever measurement you have on the hip circumference, you divide it by 4. So it's what I got, which was 40, it was I think 40.5. Divide by 4, I got about 10.1, something like that. 10.1, 10.2. And then I marked that. So for the horizontal measurements, we're going to mark the same measurement on the hip, the waistline, the hip line, and the crotch line. And that measurement is your hip circumference divided by 4. Whatever you get is what you mark on the waist, the hip, and the crotch line. Then we're going to get what our measurement, what we've got. Let's say it's 40 inches, divide by 4, making it 10. Divide that by by 4 again. Divide by divide the 10 inches by 4 again to get I think it's 2.5 inches. So when you get that, that is going to mark our crotch extension. Remember, we need a curve at the crotch. Yes, so you add that 2.5 to the crotch line to get that curve, and that's what I've drawn with my French curve. Now you're going to get the full measurement. Let's say that 10 plus the 2.5 inches, that's 12.5 inches, divided by 2. Please follow closely. Divided by 2, as you see me doing, and you're going to mark that midpoint that you get, that middle point. Mark it on all the lines from the waist, the hip, the crotch, even the hem, and the knee line and the thigh line. Mark it there. And then you draw a line joining all those midpoints, because we are going to use that midpoint as the basis to mark our thigh line, our thigh measurement, and our knee measurement, and then even the darts. It's that midpoint that we are going to use. So draw the joining line as you've seen me do. Then after that, get your thigh measurement, mine was 22 inches. You divide that by 2. The thigh measurement and the knee measurement are divided by 2. The hip, the waist, the crotch I divided by 4. Hope you get that. So get your 22 inches for the thigh measurement, divide by 2, making it 11 inches. So you get your 11 inches, get its midpoint, which is 5.5 inches, mark it on the midpoint that we draw. So you're going to mark 5.5 inches on the left of the midpoint and 5.5 inches on the right of the midpoint to get your full 11 inches. And then you mark them. We shall join them after. So do the same process, repeat the process for the knee measurement, or where the short length ends. So you get, I hope, if you have your knee measurement, get that. Let's say if it's 10 inches, you're still going to get your 5 inches on the left and 5 inches on the right. Remember, you're dividing your inches, divide by 2 first. Let's say it's 20 inches, divide by 2, making it 10 inches. So the 10 inches again, divide by 2, get your midpoint, mark the 5 on the left and mark the 5 on the right of the midpoint that you drew from the crotch. Remember the other midpoint line we drew? Yes, use that. Now join your lines. As you see me do, join your hip to your knee, and then join all through with the crotch and everything. Yeah, and you can see our short is already coming out after this. Remember, on the on the front panel, I don't add any allowance. All the allowance I need is going to be added on the back panel. So that's what I'm doing. Now we are going to mark our dart allowance, and that is 1 inch, meaning 0.5 inch on the left, 0.5 inch on the right. And for the depth, the front panel, I do 4 inches. So just join those points together. Remember, they're going to be marked on both front panels. So you're going to stitch that. And then add a 0.5 allowance, seam allowance on the waist. That is the only allowance, that one, and the hem allowance we're adding on the front panel for stitching. So just add that and join it together on the top of the waistline, at the top of the waistline. After that, just join together and cut it out as seen. Now I'm just marking where I'm going to put my pockets. I think I'll do a separate video for that to show you how I cut my pockets for both the females and the males. And then I notched my dart so that I can do it on both sides. Now I'm going to add 1.5 inch allowance at the back of the second panel of the back panel. I'm using my front panel to cut out my back panel. So I'm going to add, the seam allowance is 2 inches all round, as you can see. So you start from the waist, mark your 2-inch allowance. The 1.5 was for the back raise. Since it's a female's short, and they have a slightly bigger back side, I tend to raise the back so that the undergarments are not really peeping. That's why I added the 1.5 raise at the top, on the top line of the waist. Then the 2 inches is for just ease and stitching allowance, the one that I am adding, as you can see. And then I'm joining my lines together. So just join those lines together. Remember, it's 2 inches all around at the back side. The 1.5 is only at the waist raise. And then draw your curve in also. But before you draw your curve in, remember to lower the crotch curve. I normally lower it by 0.5 inch or 1.5 inch depending. So since it's a lady, I'll do 0.5 inch. And that's the curve I'm drawing now. So you can see the curves are different from the front panel and the back panel. They're quite different. The other one is just lowered by just 0.5 inches. I do that for comfort, basically. So just add your 0.5 inch again. Remember, you added your 1.5, and now you're going to add your same allowance of 0.5 inches again at the top waist, at the top of the waistline, and then draw a joining line from that raise to the front of the short. Here I'm just joining the waistline. Remember, I had cut out a piece for the pocket. So since I want a perfect line, I just rejoined it so that I can get my good line coming from the front of the waist to the raise that I have just drawn of 1.5 inch. Yes. And then I trace out my short again, and then add the dart for the back panel. It's still 1 inch in width, making it 0.5 inch on the left, 0.5 inch on the right, and then its depth, the dart depth for the back is 5 inches, and that's what I'm doing. So you just mark it and then draw a joining line for those points that you have marked. Remember, it's also going to be on both panels, on both back panels. So don't forget to notch it so that when you're at the machine, you know where to stitch from. So yes, this is our piece, and that's how it has come out. And wait for part 2. In part 2, I show you how I joined all the sides and the seams and the inseams and everything and the waist. But this video was quite long, and I didn't want to make a very long video. That's why I made part 1 and part 2. So watch out for part 2. Bye.